My true house cleaning horror story. This happened 7.5 years ago, June 23, 2016, while was cleaning out my house. I was renting a house for a year, and the year was almost up. I wasn't going to be living there the next year, so it was time for me to start cleaning out and moving my stuff to my next place. The house that I had at the time was fairly small, but it was plenty of space for just me. I lived there by myself, and I had just finished cleaning out the living room, other than some basic furniture, and I had moved on to clean the kitchen. There were quite a few cabinets, so many that I didn't use a good number of them. I was looking through some of the ones that I didn't use, to make sure that there was nothing I had in them. One of them I opened up and I saw something in the back corner. It looked like some type of shirt or rag. I grabbed it, and saw that I didn't think it was mine, but when I moved it revealed a small white lever that I could barely see. The cabinet was in the corner, sorted by the sink and halfway blocked by the stove. I thought it was just another pipe, but it just looked a little different to me. I got inside and had to crawl inside the cabinet, which was pretty large. Once I got inside, I saw there was a small trapdoor to the side, leading into the wall. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. You had to be completely inside in order to see the detail of it, and I decided to open the door, which led to an extremely narrow hallway with a sort of crawl space. But when I got farther inside, I was horrified. I saw that there was food, as well as several blankets, as if someone had been living inside of there. The good news, at least to me, is that whoever was in there was gone. I tried to make sense of it, and figure out how long the person had been there, and how I didn't know about it. I was gone from the house a lot with work and other stuff, but I didn't know how it was possible for someone to live in there without me knowing. I continued cleaning, until it got pretty late, and the next day after work, I continued. I was still kind of in shock with finding a secret room in my house, and decided to look at it once again. I opened the cabinet, and went inside, then I pulled the lever open, just like I had the previous day. But this time, as soon as I opened it, I saw a movement, and then saw a person, for a split second. They slammed the door back shut on me, and I immediately turned and ran all the way out of my house to my car, and then called the police. I was so scared that I started driving away as well. I opened up my phone, told the police the whole situation, and they came to my house a short time later, to find that whoever had been there was now gone. I was absolutely disgusted knowing that this random person had access to my house, for who knows how long. It felt like a vivid nightmare I need to wake up from. When I opened up my phone to call the police, it showed that the date was June 23, 2016. I still remember this date, 7 years later. It stayed with me, like a scar. A scar I don't know if I will ever heal from. Luckily for me, I moved out the next week. I really don't know how long the person was living in my secret room, but thankfully it never gave me a problem.
Creepiest experience of my life driving to work. I don't know if this will gain any traction, but this has been on my mind ever since it happened. I'm a respiratory therapist that works at a local hospital. I was on my way to work, about less than a mile away from my occupation, when the car in front of me quickly merged into one of the emergency lanes, as if something sudden had just happened. Then he just sat there. No hazards going off, nothing to indicate he planned on moving. I still had 20 minutes before I had to be at work. Assuming this individual may be in distress, or have car problems, I decided to be a good Samaritan. I parked on the shoulder of the road and turned on my hazards. We exchanged eye contact, and I gestured a wave. Rolled down my window and asked, "Are you okay?" He seemed to have either not heard me, or ignored me, but he did seem to realize I wanted to help him. He gets out of his car at this point. Keep in mind we are on an extremely busy road. I'm in my work scrubs, which tends to help people relax knowing they are with a healthcare professional. However, this was different. When he got out of his vehicle, I assumed he would have told me he was in some type of pain, or something that caused him to pull over abruptly. He had been driving fine the entire time, I was behind him. So I casually get out of my vehicle and walk over to the back end of his car. This is when I officially start a conversation asking if he's hurt, is something wrong. All the basics. But the thing is, his eyes were cold. He had this body language to him that almost made him seem a little unhinged or skittish. He had not answered any of my questions, so I tried once more asking, "Hey man, we are in the middle of a busy road. Is there something wrong with your car, or something going on with you?" He simply replied, "No." I started to feel this sensation of discomfort, like he wanted to do something to me, but was restraining himself. So I continued to play it off. He didn't seem drunk or high. But he had these black beady eyes that I couldn't stop looking at. It was as if he was just a vessel to something dark. I tried to continue the conversation. "Why did you stop, man? You don't want to get hit out here." He replies, "IDK, I don't know where to go." I didn't know what he meant by this, so I questioned further by saying, "Do you know what city you're in right now? If you're lost, I can tell you where the nearest highway is." Which was also less than a mile away. His reply was a little chilling. "Anywhere but here." I was now confused. He didn't know where he was but felt this urge to get out of the area as quick as possible. So I asked, "Well, what direction are you wanting to go?" 75N will take you to Dayton. You take 75S, you'll head to Cincinnati. He asks, "What would you do in my position?" Now I have no idea what he meant by this. I simply said, "I don't know what kind of position you're in, man. Can you drive? The hospital I work for is within view, and we don't have to go in. I just want to make sure you don't get hit." He agrees to follow me, but once I turned on my blinker to turn into the hospital, he completely stopped following me. Pulled a U-turn and sped off. I know this isn't the creepiest thing in the world, but you really have to try to understand just how foreign and strange this behavior was. Each time we engaged in conversation, it was as if he was contemplating to tell me something, but ultimately remained silent. From the looks of it, he drove a red Toyota, a Proxor RAV4 hybrid maybe. So I mean, he didn't have a broken down car, or looked like he was a substance abuser. He just seemed incredibly nervous, and his fast motion gestures, and twitches of all his body language, has left me puzzled and still gives me shudders, when I think about how he moved, talked, a lack of response, the declining any help and not explaining a single reason as to why he just decided to park on the side of the road. A simple, "Oh, I'm just lost," would even be enough for me to feel better about the entire situation. He just seemed incredibly paranoid and hesitant. On top of it, the entire conversation led nowhere to his situation, or why he was acting so strange. I just wanted to make sure he didn't need help, or get hit by a car. Anyway, I'll update you guys if I hear anything about a patient coming in later. He also has a face that is burned into my memory. I just got this gut feeling to leave, but be as polite as possible. Anyone have any thoughts on this? The person at my window. This started about 6 months ago. I was getting ready for bed in my room. It was maybe 10:30 p.m. My curtains were closed so I couldn't see out the window, but I heard 3 hard knocks on the glass of my window. Of course that scared the living tea out of me, so I didn't even look and ran and got my dad and made him look. Now I live with my parents and 2 brothers in a fairly busy neighborhood, so noises weren't uncommon to hear, but this knock was directly on my window, so someone wanted me to hear it. The thing was, my bedroom isn't facing the front of the house, or the road or anything. My room's actually towards the back of the house, so someone would have had to walk to the backyard in order to knock on my window, which seemed very odd. I had my dad check, but when he opened the curtains no one was outside the window. He even went in the backyard to check. No one was there. That was the first incident. I closed my curtains and brushed it off as me hearing things, or some sort of animal. The following night, at almost the exact same time, I heard another 3 knocks on my window. Immediately I went and got my dad again, for him to just see nothing all over again, but this time I didn't brush it off, and slept in my parents' room on the floor. The next few nights there was nothing until about a week later. I was home alone and it was about 8:30 to 9 p.m., and I was on FaceTime with my friend, when I heard another 3 knocks on my window. This time I was home alone, so I couldn't go get my dad, but I ran into their room and called them. They told me to call the neighbors to check, because they were out of town, so I did. The neighbors saw nothing. The night after that was about 1 a.m. I think, and I heard the knocking again. It wasn't 3 times though, it was more. It woke me up out of a dead sleep. I was tempted to just look out the window to see who, but part of me didn't want to know. I went and got my parents, who didn't bother to check at this point, because they didn't see anything the last few times. I kept hearing the knocking for the next few nights after, to the point where I ended up just sleeping on the couch. My parents decided to just let me move bedrooms, and so they moved my bedroom into what was the office, and switched everything around, so I hopefully wouldn't hear any more things. After moving bedrooms I didn't hear anything. It was good for maybe 3 nights. Then I heard it again, the same knocking, 3 hard times. This time I looked out the window. I saw what I assume was a man, or a very big-built woman, crouching down, wearing a grey hoodie, and some dark jeans. I can't recall the color. It was dark, maybe grey or black. I closed the curtains, went and got my parents, told them all about it, and they informed the police. The police really couldn't do anything, because we had no solid proof besides my words. They advised we get a camera facing my bedroom and around that area of the house. So that's what we did. I haven't heard the knocking since, but I do wonder who it was. Nonetheless, it makes a good story to tell.